Hello, we are live. Welcome to Living with Annietude, Conversations with Mike. And why is he laughing at me already? Why are you
I'm not.
laughing?
It's not you. It's Sid.
Okay, well, we know Sid is always a permanent guest, but we have a special new guest tonight, not Sydney Rain. We have Andrea and Kohalmi. I messed it up. I'm like,
You got it. You got it.
and
Let's do that.
we're here to talk about empathy tonight. She is an empath, and you can describe yourself and a little bit about what an empath is and what it means, and we can sort of go from there if that works.
Awesome. I'm super happy to join this party. The awesomeness of the two of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Want me to jump right in?
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
I thought Mike was going to pave the way for me and everything.
Mike's babysitting right now. He can't talk.
Okay.
I'm getting my toenails painted with a green crayon.
Yeah, you jump in. You jump. Just interrupt us. We just banter.
Awesome. Happy to do so. Anyway, so thank you so much for having me again. A little bit about me. I grew up in Pennsylvania, born in actually Connecticut, grew up in Pennsylvania, lived in Delaware for a little bit, moved to California, then to Colorado, and then to Texas. But ultimately, where's my family? Back east. And how I grew up and how that influenced me and the things that are within me, there's a whole lot of paranormal, supernatural, whatnot, but I have certain capabilities, and one of them is being an empath. Sorry for that long winding intro to all of that, but it's what keeps me connected to people, no matter how far apart they are, no matter where they live and whatnot too. Everyone has or is capable of empathy, which means feeling something for someone else. If someone is struggling, you can care for them. You want to help them. Being empathic or an empath means that you can literally feel someone else's feelings, what's going on with them at any given moment. If it's someone who you're working with, it might be in that office space, and you'll just pick up on something before they even open their mouth. You can just feel them, and you end up absorbing all of those feelings too.
And how do you know if you have this ability? You just sort of know, someone tells you? How does that work?
I'm so happy you asked that, because I've been trying to figure out when was it that I actually figured it out. And about 20 years ago, I was watching a TV show about ghosts. It was like a ghost hunting thing. And there was a young kid on it who was talking about being an empath. And I thought, that's so interesting. I didn't put two and two together. I never realized that I was feeling other people's energy until one day, about 10 years ago, I was walking through my office and I started the day super happy. I was having the best day ever. And I walked past someone at work, and then by the time I got back to my desk, I was miserable, completely miserable. And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, wait a second, that was so weird. That wasn't me. I wasn't reacting to anything. I had no stimulus. There was nothing going on around me. It was like a switch just got flipped. So, and that was the most obvious moment to me. That was like my wake up to these things, or to this ability. But yeah, most of the time it's usually subtle. Like when you're with your kids, you absorb it, you pick it up, or when you're working with people, and it's not usually so drastic.
But okay, so my question is now in retrospect, like in hindsight, in looking back to your life. So before you sat there and saw that television show, in retrospect, like thinking of things, what were some of the signs or clues that you know now that you could have said? Like, I'll get into the two people that you're sitting with here and how we're a little bit different than others too. But what looking back, sort of are signs for you that you could say, oh, I should have known, or that would tip me off?
That is a great question, and a hard one, because it's like asking, why are my eyes green? I don't know. It's one of those where it's so in you, and if you're born with it, it's a natural part of you. As you get older, what would you be looking for? It is this instant switch in feelings or emotions that doesn't seem to make sense. It's not like that warning sign is really like, if you're feeling okay, you're not reacting to anything, you have nothing going on around you, and then all of a sudden it just
So is it extra sensitivity? Like some people, like, for example, for me, my whole life, people told me I was too sensitive. So like, and I'll get into how I come into this, but is that something that you felt always? Were there things when you were little, like sensitivity wise, did you, anything like that in looking back?
I was always worried about the other person. So I was sensitive, but not in terms of I'd break down crying. I could feel what was going on, where my mom would be like, just go do that. Just go talk to that person or whatever else. And I could feel, I didn't have the words to express any of the things that I was picking up, but I was like, that person doesn't want to talk to me. I don't want to go over there.
Right.
And maybe that was more, we would describe it as intuition, but it's part of also being an empath. That sensitive piece that you're talking about, it could also be that, because you're feeling not only your emotions in a moment, but the people around you too. So it's a heightened awareness in your emotions.
Okay. And that's okay. And then I don't know if Mike, if you have any questions. I don't mean to like rapid fire. I just have so much to ask.
Well, not only that, like I'm distracted by Sid, so that's not helping. But I mean, for me, right? Like for me personally, it's as far back as I remember. Like, I mean, I remember going to preschool and I was the kid that always cried. I was the kid that always was overly emotional. I was just beyond, like I couldn't control my emotions at all. And it wasn't until I got older that I started realizing why I couldn't control my own emotions, because they weren't always mine.
Right.
You know, I was fine, but I was absorbing so much from everybody else, and I had no clue, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't until I guess the first time I realized that, you know, I was really, really different was probably like 7 or 8 years old. Didn't know what it meant or what it was, but I was getting signs, whatever you want to call it, right? Like there was always indicators around me. And, you know, because of my past and because of what I did and what I went through and all those other things, that's one of the main reasons I turned to drinking and drugs, right? Like at such a young age, because I didn't know how to shut it out. I didn't know how to control it, or I always just thought it was me. I always thought I was just a problem. And
like, did you feel like an other, kind of like you felt different than everybody else, but you didn't know why?
Well, I mean, I'm still an other, right? I still know I'm an other. So I mean, I'm still different, right? And I know I'm different. That's the only difference. I'm secure in the fact that I am different. Do I still doubt it? Do I still doubt myself at times? Do I still question it? I always do, right? Because it's intangible. It's hard to accept certain things. And, you know, being an empath is a gift and a curse. And we've had these discussions offline. You know, it's one of those things where it could be the best thing in the world, but it's also, you know, tedious and torturous. And at times, you know, you just don't know who you're absorbing, right? And like me with my kids right now, even happened to me today. And I texted Annie. I'm like, you know, this was bad. Like I felt it, right? Like my son was very angry and he said something that I don't think he meant. And if he did, okay, I guess he has every right to feel how he does. But, you know, if that's his feeling, that's his feeling. But I actually felt it, right? Like through and through. It wasn't just words. And, you know, it's very scary and confusing, right? And I feel like in the mental health world, it gets confused a lot with other things because they don't know how to diagnose something that's intangible.
Well, it's kind of all intangible in mental health, I think, but that sounds a little bit like almost weird to them because they don't know how to, it doesn't fit in a box, like depression, bipolar, anxiety, like they like to put things in boxes in the mental health arena. So it's like, what do you mean? So you're sensitive. You know, and it's sort of brushed off. At least that's how. What I wanted to tell you was, I came to you. I mean, Mike has always told me I'm an empath, and I thought that I was, but I wasn't sure. And I came to you, and you said you absolutely are. So, I guess I want to know, like, how can you see that in other people? How do you know that? Like, what can you read and what can't you read? And like that fun stuff, you know, like that people would want to know about, like they're thinking, oh, she can read our minds, you know, and she must know the lottery number.
I'll try to keep this. Go ahead, Mike.
We're turning you into a parlor trick now, so get ready.
No, I don't mean it like that. I just want to understand, like, what do you know and what don't you know?
I'm going to try to keep this within our topic.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're going to be talking for hours and hours, and I know I can with both of you.
We do that.
With you specifically, Annie, it's something that I can feel because I can feel your openness. And then when you're talking about certain things, I can feel the emotions that you're feeling. And sometimes I know those aren't necessarily your emotions. How do I know those things? I don't know the word for it. Second sight, psychic, channeling. I'm using senses that don't have words attributed to them. So Mike, going back to your point, how do you describe this to the medical community? I don't know. I've been doing it my whole life and I didn't realize I was doing it until someone at one point pointed it out to me and was like, how did you know? How did you feel it? So Annie, just going back to you, like as you were describing things to me in our first conversation and you were going through some of those emotions and then what you were experiencing based on those things, that is how an empath would feel. Meaning you're absorbing someone else's guilt, frustration, anger, expectations of you, whatever that would be.
It's
and then
so heavy. It's so much weight. It's
exactly
like it's here and it's here. And it's like, but I don't want that person to be upset with me, disappointed, whatever. And it's not just that feeling. It's like so intensely deep and I think that's what you're talking about, right? That intensity.
And there's a trickle effect, right, that happens with it, where it can, and going back again to what Mike was saying, when you're absorbing all of these other things from other people, it triggers your own response to it. It creates that narrative that you guys were talking about in your last podcast, where people say certain things to you, then you add the emotional attachments or just the emotions of that and the words that they're using and their own feelings. All of that is then bottled up inside of you because you've pulled all of it in and it's there now mentally, emotionally, energetically, and it's in your space. And that's that weight that is weighing you down. And somehow you need to be able to work through all of those different things, identify where they're coming from, where they originated from, and be able to focus on what your response is. Where are you within it versus everybody else? And then you can begin to clear it out.
To your point, do you find that as an empath that you lose your own feeling? Like I'll like be like, I don't really know how I feel about this because I'm picking up how everyone else feels, so much so that I don't know how I feel. Do you do that, Mike?
Yes, all the time. I not as much as I used to, right? Because I'm aware of it now. So like once I'm aware of it, I can identify who I'm close to and who I'm not close to, because based on the strength of how it is. And I mean, this sounds out there, right? I mean, but this whole thing does. So like every person has their own vibration to their energy. So you can start identifying where it's coming from after a while. Now, there's always going to be people you can't identify, right? Because it could be someone that you passed in the grocery store. Not that you go to the grocery store, Annie, but no, never.
Never. Pre-COVID, never.
Right.
I've ordered groceries before there was even a grocery delivery.
But I mean, it could be anybody, right? It could be someone that you even had a conference call with just in passing. It could be anyone that just interacted in your life in some capacity. And you just absorbed it, whether it's through their voice, whether it's through a video, whether it's through being face to face, which doesn't happen that much anymore. But you still grasp it and you still feel it and it still grabs you. And that's where the identifiers are tough.
Gabe and Kenny are on, and they're talking to each other, but Gabe said, I have to block myself sometimes when talking to Annie. I don't know exactly what that means, but from what he's told me, like I'll say something and he's like, how did she know that kind of thing? But I don't know it like the way that you know it. Do you know what I mean, Andrea? Like I feel like you're just much more in touch with it, or more so, or like, and you two are like so in touch. Maybe you've just been doing this for much longer, or you are more in touch with your feelings or something, but maybe I'm just coming to terms with it. I don't know, but I know I have some sort of ability, but I haven't like honed in on it.
And
that's what I'm trying to learn.
And it's honestly, some of it is practice. and awareness. Some people just know from the moment they're really tiny born, and they know how to use it, work with it, process it, everything. For many of us, as you come into that knowledge, it takes practice with it. I had it like right when you said that Gabe was asking that particular question too. I guess like I have more of a question for Gabe around that. I don't know if he's going to respond to it or not, but
probably will. He's hanging out. I see there how many people are here. I think he's here.
it's more that in those moments, is it that it's that feeling, or are you reading something else? Like you picked up on the feelings that he was having, because that's different than if you're picking up on his wavelength or where his thoughts are going. So there's that emotional thing that, like, going back to what Mike was saying too, like, how do we process this? Because to have all of that, it is weighing on you. And when you don't even know what it necessarily is or where you are in it, for me, it's not so much anymore of knowing where my feelings are, because I have practiced figuring out where's that energy coming from, who is it? And I go through my process of meditation, of grounding and removing people from that sphere. But most importantly, it's a practice of understanding like where you draw your line and allow people in and out and their energy in and out of you.
A little bit of an issue where I draw the line. I feel, like the other day, when Mike told me his story today, and we're very close and we talk all the time, and we, have a relationship. So I don't know if it's our friendship or whatever it is, but like when he told me about his son and what was said, like I felt pain in my heart. Like I wasn't just like I felt actual pain in my heart. And that happens with certain people in my life. It doesn't, I can't really say it happens with all strangers. It doesn't happen with all strangers, but like with especially people that I'm close to and I care for, like I'll feel the stress. Like it's overwhelming to me.
I think, so you pointed out something too, because you have a relationship with Mike, meaning he's not a stranger to you. There is a connection that's just attaching the two of you. Right. So on top of that, it's not just your regular intuition or your regular sensitivity towards what he might be feeling. You were picking up on the pain or his emotional reaction to what was happening in
Right.
that. And that is part of being an empath. Now, the challenge is, how do you process it so that you recognize that it's coming from Mike?
And that's his.
Not exactly. It's not Annie at all. So how do you separate it? And a lot of that is learning to process that and grounding that energy or disconnecting it and feeling that pain in your heart and say, okay, I know this is not mine.
Right.
Breathe through it. And go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Like,
go ahead.
Sid walked away, so I have a moment.
No, go for it.
Part of it's also because we're both empaths, right? Because when you put two empaths together, there's also a deeper connection because it magnifies both, right? So there's the magnification of what's already there, and then you add everything else that you just said on top of it, so it's more like that instant feeling. And you almost feel as much as that other person does, right? And it is that real. Like in that moment, it is that real.
Yes. And here's the other issue is that one other thing just to ask you about, Andrea, is like, how do you, when you say you release that, like, okay, and it's not mine, but my fix-itness is so strong. And I know Mike's is like this too. That's just like, okay, what can I do this exact second to fix this, because I have to get rid of this pain.
For yourself, or you want to fix Mike?
I want to fix whatever just happened that went wrong. I want to fix it. This broke. I want to call and have it fixed so that, not just for him, but like there's certain people in my life, like I know that if I get out of that pain, then they'll be out of that pain. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I understand why you're saying it. And it is because you are so also filled with love for everyone around you. And that, it's such a natural part of you to want that and to want to fix it. I think the challenge is that you need to recognize what you can and can't fix to be there as an emotional support, verbalizing it. Absolutely. There's, for another conversation, another podcast day, there's energy healing that you can do, but that's something that takes practice. And if you don't do it right, even the well-intentioned can actually end up hurting somebody really badly. So you don't want to go down that path, but you do want to say, Mike, I can feel your pain.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that you're feeling this. I wish I could take it from you. I'm going to send you positive vibes. And when you verbalize that love that's inside of you already, it actually goes there. You're directing your thoughts and your energy to him. And it's almost like saying a prayer. It is that. But that actually can help heal. So if you switch the fix it, like I'm going to fly to Mike and we're going to fix this and it's going to be perfect again, at least in this way you are helping.
Typically my version is call someone and get it fixed.
I like that too. If it was that fast.
It is. Not just that's just what I do. Just call someone to get it repaired. But I want to do that. But you understand. Yeah, I have to work on that because it's overwhelming.
I mean, I have an example for both of you. I live in a house filled with empaths. Every single human that lives under my roof is an empath, and so are the animals. And it is overwhelming in the sense that when you have one person who has a really particularly horrible day, everybody else leaves. Like you can see it. It's like opposing.
It's like the mass exodus.
You don't need to say anything. Everybody picks up on who is the one that needs to be avoided right now. Like if it's anger and frustration, if it's negative emotions that are happening right now. Then everybody just knows to stay out of that person's way. But there are times for me, because I'm mom, wife, and kind of, in the house, I can address it, but there's this feeling. So for me, the empath part that picks up again is recognizing where there's an opening where someone is willing to talk about it. They might be feeling angry, depressed, whatever it is, but they might actually want that human connection to talk through it versus when there is a block up and you can just feel it in the whole house and everybody avoids one part of the house.
I can't imagine that block up. I can't imagine. I've never done such a thing.
Never. You don't do that.
It is over. You need to come here and you can experience this one too.
I have to.
I can watch an Eagles game or Phillies game.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, what do you have for us while we have quiet?
I mean, look, being an empath is not A, B, or C. It's not 1, 2, or 3.
Exactly.
I mean, this is a multi-layered thing, and it only if you're not balanced, it's going to make you more unbalanced. Mm-hmm. But if you're balanced, you could be in tune with everything and make yourself even more balanced. There's a bunch of amplifiers along the way, right? Like, I mean, play Super Mario Brothers, play whatever you want to play, right? Like you hit the magic mushroom and you grow. I mean, there's all these different things that you can do that can increase how in tune you are, or after years of practice and understanding, you can sense it and feel it and know it and just be comfortable in it, right? And there's still times, right, after all these years that I still don't know where it's coming from. There really is. Like there's just times. And that's a whole nother conversation also. But I mean, there's so many ways that it can tear you down or build you up based on how you experience it. And the fact that it's still one of those stigmas and it's still not fully accepted means that people are denying who they really are, and they feel different, they feel awkward, they feel worse. And then it amplifies that worse feeling. So yeah. No, go ahead.
So I was going to say, if you guys could give a message to anybody that's watching that really, maybe if they feel this way, right? Like maybe they felt this way and they didn't know what it was, or they were like, damn it, why are you so sensitive? Like, what would you say to them? Did I stump you? Did she freeze?
I think she froze, actually. Either that or she stopped breathing.
She's in really good thought.
Seriously, like the never ending. I mean, the message I would give, right, is, bye. She had enough.
She had enough of us. She's so sick of
We
us.
we switched sides now.
Let's see if she comes
gone
back.
again. Gone again. Back to the beginning. It's the message I would give is it's okay to be different. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to accept yourself for who you are and do your own.
Being weird is cool.
Being weird is fine. Everybody's weird. Everybody has their things. Everybody has their nuances. You know, everyone has those. It's about accepting yourself and then doing your own homework and research, right?
Do you ever wish that you weren't like this?
Yes, quite often.
Like today.
Like today, the last 4 days. How about that? The last week.
She's back.
Yes.
Hi. You were in really, really deep thought that looked like.
At least it wasn't a really bad face.
No, it wasn't. It was very you were really deep
stoic. It was really stoic. Like you were taking over the world.
I've been like frozen really ugly. Like you looked pretty and just thinking and okay.
That
So
never happened.
I asked Mike, do you ever not want to be like this? Do you ever not want to feel this way?
And the answer, Mike?
The answer is sometimes. The answer is on the surface sometimes, but in the end of the day, no. I don't regret any of it, but at times it sucks. It really does suck at times.
When you're in it. But then when somebody says I've never connected with anyone like you in my entire life. I feel like I've known you for 100 years and you're thinking to yourself, you have. Or, it's like, I've never, you totally understand how I feel before I even say it. Like, these are things that I've heard, and it's like, I do? Well, I guess I do. I don't know. Is that like a normal thing that people hear?
You can add more. You can add more zeros too if you want. I mean, it's to me, it's normal because I hear it all the time, right? Like I can have a single conversation with somebody, and next thing I know their whole life story, right? And I've started spreading out my conference calls further now because they start out as scheduled for an hour and they aren't an hour, and I don't mind, right? I mean, it is a drain a little bit because I'm an empath, but it's at the end of the day. I also know how to manage that while I'm in that situation, as long as I'm having a decent day. When I'm not, it's a whole different story.
I see yours so clearly, Mike. Like I'll see yours where I'm like, he really needs to set some boundaries with these people and understand when he should take on their emotions and when he shouldn't. And then with myself, I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. Like zero. Like I'm like everything, everyone, let me fix it. Let me take care of it. I got it. But with him, I'm like, it's really taking on too much. It really needs to set some boundaries. Like, why don't I look at myself?
The first step is awareness, right? That's where it starts. Going back to what Mike was saying, it is draining. It's completely draining, especially when you're around really stressful, intense people who carry a lot of weight and negativity and anger around them. So to have back-to-back meetings, regardless of what it is, even if it's like friends, family, coworkers, it can come from absolutely anywhere. When you're an empath, you need to have time built in between those meetings, absolutely, to be able to just breathe, let it go before you can move on. Otherwise, you carry it and it builds all day long.
Yeah.
It's really challenging, or it can be really challenging.
So I guess the goal is to know that you are and figure out first that it's not yours to carry, and then
to process it. Meditation is the best way to do it. And honestly, for me, the quick fix is to step outside in grass. If you're near a garden, you're outside someplace else.
Oh no, she'll have a heart attack. No, don't say that. Don't say that ever again. She will have a heart attack.
Tell me if this is weird, okay? Tell me if this is this is not an
yes.
empath, okay?
Yes.
I'm telling you that there is nothing. Shut up, Mike. There is nothing that grosses me out more and skeeves me more. If you called my mother, if you called my father, call some other, anybody right now, that skeeves me more than, I can't even say it, than stepping on wet grass, especially grass, a little mostly, but wet grass. I can't even breathe.
Okay. Wet grass, I understand.
Okay.
And I'm not saying to do it barefoot. You can
Okay.
absolutely wear shoes. The idea is more to be in nature.
Nature.
Whatever you like, even if it's to sit outside. If you have a deck or a balcony with some flowers on it, whatever,
There's
breathe.
lots of trees. Yeah.
The idea is that when you're in nature, you just feel more whole. Are we going to go down a separate tangent?
No.
Now it's going to be about grass.
I know what he's thinking. I know what he's thinking. Like, he's like, who acts like that about grass? But like, I have a thing. It's like, if you call my mom right now, if she's watching, I'm just watching the shoot. When I was a little baby, I would like scream and cry if I was near grass. Like, I don't know.
Does it matter what kind of grass? Because Florida grass is different than up north grass. Then you have golf turf, and then you have like turf at a
I don't
stadium.
want to sit on. I want to sit on asphalt. Okay, I don't want to sit on grass. I don't want to touch grass. I don't want it near me. Anyway, the point of the matter is, I hear what you're saying. You need to be in nature. Which is really not my number one thing. I'm a little more indoorsy, but that's okay. We can get there.
Beach. You can, like, if you're at the beach, take a walk on the beach, or on your laptop, pull up a picture of an image of trees and grass, and you don't have to step on it.
As long as she doesn't have to go near the water, that's fine too.
Stop. This is not going to be make fun of Annie night. It's not. It's my show. There's conversations with you, but don't make fun of me. So what else do you want to talk about as far as being an empath, what it means, how people react to it, or what do you?
Actually, a tip for anyone who's listening who is an empath or thinks they might be an empath, I will share this. A lot of us are actually introverts, and we become ambiverts because in society or because of our jobs, we actually have to interact with people all the time. But at the end of the day, we just want to be alone. And it's not actually because we don't like people or don't want to be around them. It's because all day it's been building, all the energy. You need to give yourself a few minutes of you time to just let go and be at peace for a little bit for you to be present the next day. I
can fully relate to that. But I'm not, but I'll test as an extrovert every day of the week. Every day of the week.
I don't see introvert in you.
No, not you at all. I don't think I fit this mold. I really don't. There
is no mold. I just want to say real fast, Mike, what you were saying before is so true. There is no one way. None of this is defined as it has to be A, and it's only A ever. Every single person is so incredibly unique. Their experiences are so incredibly unique. You can't compare. I can only speak from my experiences, and it is hard to put words around it that make sense for other people because it is so uniquely my experience. Mike will have a very different experience from me.
I mean, for me, right? I'm an extrovert by nature also. Well, okay. I'm an introvert and an extrovert. I mean, I love people, right? I like being in crowds. I like being at places. People think I go places to people watch. I really don't. I go there to feel. People, well, that just sounds dirty in every way. But to me, I like observing how people interact. I like observing how people, what their real emotions and what they're showing, right? Because if I have this ability and I have this gift, it's got to be here for a reason. And for me, it teaches me insight into people that put up fronts, people that pretend they're something else. It gives me the ability to see through those things in a much deeper way.
You can't really be phony with you, I would say, right? No. People can't really be phony with you.
No, not at all. I see through it in about 32 seconds. I mean, I can walk into a room, you give me 30 seconds in a corner, I'll read every single person there. And I've done it. And there's been people that invite me places just to do it. Like, they actually ask me to just go with them somewhere just so that I can tell them who's real and who's not. I've been invited to strange business meetings just for that purpose. I've put myself in situations to where I've learned and attuned and have the abilities, and I know what to do with them. Now, there's other sides of this too, and there's other things that I can do, and that also adds to it. But you just don't know, right? Like, it's and that goes back to scenarios too from last week, the narratives, because as long as the emotions stay out of it, you can create narratives that give you a benefit. The minute that an emotion gets involved, the narrative is it basically it starts twisting it up between the emotions as well. So any advantage that you have could be correct, but the minute that you add the emotions, it starts twisting it around the emotional side, and it gets very difficult.
Yeah, it's like really hard to navigate, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but there is still truth there, and the truth is still very apparent at the same time. Mm-hmm. You just have to somehow be able to separate yourself from your own emotions, which is just not easy to do. It's just
really hard. We have a question. Andrea, is stepping into nature a method of creating distance from others and receiving stimulation from nature as a distraction?
Great question. Hi, Roger. What, Mike?
No, Kenny and his torpedoes. He loves when I throw torpedoes.
Mike basically busts my chops 24 hours a day. So,
okay.
So Roger Harris would like to know that.
You sleep 3 or 4 hours, so I don't want to hear 24 hours. Maybe more like 21.
Okay, Roger. It's not a distance from others, and it's not actually receiving stimulation either. It's really more about finding peace. And when you're in nature, you're around fresh air, you're around living things, trees, things that don't have, it's maybe more like the anger that comes up around from people or just chaos with people. For me, if it's the children that are talking constantly and everything, just to be outside for a few minutes is peaceful. And more than anything else, it's a way to ground your energy and to be able to find that inner peace that you need. Some people meditate. Some people like to do that in their own home office or in their bedroom or wherever it is. For me, it's to be in nature. There's a peace that comes with it that I can't find anywhere else.
Interesting.
Great question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. And I didn't mean to show it too early, but I'm just learning how to do this.
I'm glad you showed it because then I could see it too.
Yeah, here, why don't we go through? We can go through. So we had Gabe say that he has to block himself from talking sometimes. Then he said it's sometimes she can actually read my thoughts, and times it's my emotions. It's eerie. And then our Kenny said this conversation is really so scrumptiously, deliciously, utterly tasty good tonight.
Kenny's a super.
You have to know him. He's the best.
Kenny's amazing.
And then Gabe said that it seems he's a magnet for empaths. He's not one, but he's drawn to them. And then Kenny said that Mike's torpedoes. And then we have Roger's question. So we are pretty good on the questions so far. But if that happens again, I'll pull him up. I
love that.
I didn't understand how other people did that, but I just figured it out. So
awesome.
Yay. So can you do something cool? Can you
bring out a deck of cards?
I was going to say, are you going to make me perform like a circus monkey right now?
Not a circus monkey. Can you
give her miniature drums?
I don't know, something. I don't want to ask you. I don't want you to go out of your way. I feel bad, but I don't know. I want you to show how amazing you are. Not that you're not. You are showing.
I love both of you. And I know how you feel about me because I can feel that too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I do something? Can I perform or demonstrate on it? Being an empath, I don't want to read both of you in front of other people on this. Is that what you're really asking me to do?
Annie, that was a very bad question.
I'm sorry. Listen, my questions have been so good. It's time for you to start asking questions as the co-host. It's time. It's your turn.
Annie, I would say while he's thinking of one, I will wrap up with your question too. To be able to do that, for me, it's a personal thing. And it's like what Gabe said, sometimes it's surprising and shocking. And I've had some people feel me read them and tell me to stop.
Easy to me. It's because
it's unsettling to people because no one wants to feel like they're not having their own private thoughts and whatever else. And I don't intentionally read minds. I don't go out there. For me, it's about respecting a person and their space and their privacy. If I pick up on something, I don't acknowledge it unless I've been asked to do that reading, or I've been asked to help somebody.
Right. So
with it, because I'm not going to take, it's like taking your life and then just sharing it with the world around you. And I might read something that's really nasty that you don't want anyone to know right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to put it out there.
You can read, all right, so forget about reading specifically, but like you can read anything that is in someone's, like anything, or can I hide something from you?
You can, well, yes, you can hide, but I can, what?
She needs a tinfoil cap.
Sorry, no, that won't work.
No.
But it's more like I'm not looking at anybody and being like, okay, let me see everything that she's thinking about today. To me, that's just evil. I don't want to be in anyone's head. I have enough going on inside my own head.
Yeah. Who wants to do that really anyway?
But I can pick up on someone who's lying or withholding or cheating. Like there's just other stuff that I can pick up because there's this energy block with them. Like as they're interacting with you, they're not being themselves, their authentic self. Exactly. Genuine with you. And there's that block that's right there. It's like, ooh, they're hiding something from me because they don't want me in their space or they don't want me near them, whatever it is. So
how do you deal with that in like a work? I'm sorry, we don't have that much time left, but like we have a little bit, like maybe 10, 15 minutes. How do you deal with that in like a work situation where you have to work with somebody? And
I'm glad you asked that because I can respond, but go ahead. Wait, why, Mike, did you want to react to that?
No, you're fine. No, I just read Kenny's question. Go, you're good.
I'm sorry, Kenny, not in public.
Nope.
I care about Mike and Annie, and I will not reveal anything publicly.
She's so good. She's so good.
Work. How does this work at work? There's actually a positive side to all of this. Now, can you pick up on the negativity around people and how they're acting, feeling about you? Like if I'm in a meeting or I'm talking to somebody, I can feel how they feel about me. And to push through and power through and pretend like there's nothing going on. I've just learned over the years to ignore everything I'm feeling and focus on the facts and stick to the moment that we're in. There's a project at stake. It's not about the feelings at all. Later, when I walk away, I will process, I'll meditate, I'll do my grounding, and I'll deal with my reaction to that person later. But it's not that person. And everyone's entitled to their own feelings, their opinions, whatever it is.
You let them have it. You let them have it. You have your stuff.
It's not about me.
But does it ever like, can you, how do you, like, let's say it's your boss, right? But the person's really being disingenuous with you and you know it because you can feel that block, right? Like, how do you deal with that when you have to deal with that person? Like, because in personal life, I would just be like, I want nothing to do with you. You're totally not authentic and I don't want to be your friend. But in business, sometimes you have to deal with a-holes. So I'm just wondering like how you sort through that.
It really depends on what it is and what needs to be addressed and who that person is. If there's a daily interaction where it's regular and you need to work very closely with this person, it also manifests not just in their feelings, because people ultimately can't hide completely like what they're feeling. It'll come out in their words to you or how they interact with you. And then you have something tangible that you can address with that person and say, you know, it's a private conversation. Did I upset you at some point? Why are you like, this is how I'm hearing the things you're saying. Is this what you're intending with it? If not, then what do you mean? How can I help you work through this? How do we partner better together? And I will say there is a positive side to all of this that I do want to share with it, because it sounds kind of scary. And like, as I'm reflecting on everything that we're talking about, the positive within this, and it's something that I shared at another event that I spoke at recently, but it's when I can feel the people that I'm working with. I'm in communications. That's been my career since the beginning. But I can take a concept, I can take a project, I can take something that someone wants to say, but they don't have the words to actually say it. And if I'm interviewing them for an article or video, whatever it is, and I'm writing talking points for them, I can get at the heart of what it is they actually want to say and how they want to connect with their audience, even if they don't actually have the words. I just have to ask the questions and get at the heart of what it is that ultimately matters to them the most. And then I'm able to give them the voice that they need to be able to communicate with others. So it's actually a great blessing.
You translate in a way.
Their feelings and what's in their head that they might not be able to put into cohesive sentences or something that you can share out with your office, with all of your employees right away, because, you wordsmith all of it. It has to sound a certain way if you're an executive. But yeah, it's something that is a complete blessing in that regard.
And I'm going to add to that, right? Like, so there's two different jobs that I've had since whatever. It's been a while, but I had them. When I did, there was one of the jobs had, I think, almost 700 employees in one building, right? And I became the person that was helping everyone else. I don't know why. I just did. It just doesn't. I don't know how that happened. But there were people literally wanting to kill themselves, and they couldn't communicate it, right? They had no one to turn to. They had no one to speak to. And I would roundabout approach them, right? And I would just have a conversation with them. And then the other part of it is when it comes to a negative situation, and there's many of those. So, I mean, I'm not going to fool myself. There's a ton of them. And when that happens, I wait for the actions to match the emotions, right? I wait for, once the actions match, then it certifies that it's not only an impulsive emotion, but it's also their true intent. And once that happens, I'm done. I don't care what the circumstance, I don't care what the situation is, I don't care who the person is, I'm done. Because that means it's just going to fester and get worse. And I don't need that around me. I don't need the toxicity. I don't need the negativity. I don't need to feel all that weight on my shoulders because they can't deal or they can't handle or they can't control it. And really that's it. I mean, when the actions start matching, it just solidifies it for me.
Are you specifically looking for it, would be my question. Like, are you inadvertently manifesting it then? Because you're like, I'm picking up all of this. And there's a reason I'm asking, right? Because for some people, it would be, they might make up their mind about a certain person without evidence for it. An empath is different than someone who's like, I don't like my coworker. I just don't like it. I don't like the way they look at me every day. And then they'll notice something like someone might move their stapler on their desk and say like, they're dead to me now. So in this case, like, can you explain as an empath how that's different?
Okay. So there have been situations where I've probably manifested in certain ways, right? But in other ways, it's, I feel the negativity. I feel the angst. I feel the manipulation, the using, the lying, whatever it is, right? And then I start noticing, or I mean, I'm extremely observant anyway, so I really don't miss many nuances in anything. But when I start seeing that, slight acts of passive aggressiveness, or slight acts of shifts in how they react, how they communicate, either to me directly or about me, right? Then I know that those are starting to be the signs that it's conviction for me. And maybe part of it is a reflection of what I've been through and who I've been around. And I just have I guess I do have certain boundaries, right? Like I'm just not gonna, I don't have many, but I do have some. And this is one of them, right? This is a big one for me because if you start red flag after red flag after red flag, I don't have an exact red flag for each person, but when they hit that level, I'm just done. It doesn't matter what they do from that point forward. There is no coming back. I will never wish ill will. I will never wish anything go wrong for that person, but I don't want that person around me anymore, or an impact or a factor in my life. And I feel it, I see it, I know it, I read it, I communicate it. Sometimes I communicate it with somebody else and double check to see if it's really what I'm seeing, or if I am just, creating it, right? So, but I'm usually pretty accurate. I'm not, granted, it depends on the similarities to the past situations too, right? Like, I've been through hell and high water with many different people in many different ways. So it really depends on the circumstance and how similar it is to past ones, because that also has an impact.
Because of triggers and
Yeah.
There's just an add on that too, Mike, because whenever people are that negative and the energy builds around all of that, right? There is what people can't actually see. It's imperceptible, but that negative energy actually affects you. So if you allow that person to continue to come into your life, and you've already tried, you've given them your chances, you tried to work through things with them, you've used your words, like you've worked through it, and you still haven't gotten anywhere, it is necessary to remove those people, because it is a drain on you. And then you do completely absorb everything, all of those feelings into yourself. It can actually manifest in illness, physical illness for you.
Yes.
So it does need to be processed and removed, honestly.
And I have learned to take all Daniel Tiger's steps to heart. And I really do.
You do.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have to watch that anymore. Oh my God. The worst one in the world was Caillou. Do you remember Caillou?
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to look at your face? Did you want to kill that child? I wanted to murder the cartoon child.
Well, here's the thing. Sid hates it.
Okay,
so Thomas puts it on.
No, that song and everything about him was so. Any parent that's watching or is listening is just laughing right now and saying, "Oh my God," because there was a meme years ago that said, "Your life might be fucked, but you're not Caillou's mom, so it's okay." Like anything is better than being Caillou's mom, and it's so true. So anyway, off topic, but yeah. So that's a lot. We went over a lot of stuff. We talked about a lot of things. Do you have any final questions, Mike?
No, I'm okay right now, I think.
You good?
Yeah.
Andrea, do you have anything that you want to add? Do you want to tell the public anything, or I don't know, anything?
There's so much, but we can't wrap that up in 10 seconds. I would love to talk to both of you. Yeah, again, and we can talk about one of the other topics too, because this touches on so many other things.
It does.
But actually, honestly, in one final, maybe bow for this package that we have tonight, at the end of the day, it's all about being heart-centered and being loving and caring for the people around you and processing it. So if you're an empath, taking care of yourself, being an empath in a responsible way to others, so that you're not manipulating other people based on what you're feeling from them and picking up on it and using it for negative purposes. We're here to make the world a better place, not worse. So
it sounds a lot like you're living with Annietude.
I love that.
I think you are. It
is so catchy.
It's more than a name. It's more than a name. It's a way of life.
It is.
So anyway, it was fabulous to talk to you. And Mike, if you don't have anything else, we're going to do this again and you'll come chat and we'll talk about more. But if we start on anything else, I think we'll go probably over our time. But I just want to thank you for being here.
You think? It'll be 2 a.m. somewhere by the time we're done.
Thank you for being here. We love you. And it was wonderful. You're such a great, beautiful spirit.
Thank you even more for not reading us.
Yes.
You're quite welcome. I love you both. I love you both. I care about you. Thank you so much for tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll do this again. And everyone, that's a wrap. Good night.
Bye.